It usually happens when the world finally goes quiet. You are lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and without your permission, your brain hits rewind. Suddenly, you are back in a conversation from 6 hours ago. You replay the tape, dissecting the details. Was your laugh too loud? What did that split-second hesitation before their answer actually mean? You scrutinize every frame, convinced you sounded awkward. Most people call this overthinking. They label it a defect. They tell you to let it go, and you start to believe there is a glitch in your system, that you are just wired wrong. But what if they are wrong? What if this isn't a sign that you are broken, but proof that your mind is operating at a higher resolution than most? Today, we shift the frame. We aren't here to fix you. We are here to understand your capacity for deep processing. You aren't crazy. You're just paying attention in a world that rarely does. Trait 1, hyper-perceptive social awareness. The first reason you can't sleep is that you saw things that didn't happen on the surface. The common mistake is believing that you are paranoid, that you are inventing subtext where there is none. But in psychology, this is linked to hyper-perceptive social awareness. You see, most people communicate only on the text layer. They hear the words, they respond to the words, but your brain is processing the metadata. You picked up on a micro-expression of annoyance that lasted less than a second. You heard the frequency of their voice drop by a semitone when you mentioned a specific topic. You noticed the hesitation. You are replaying the conversation not because you are obsessed, but because your brain detected an inconsistency between what was said and what was felt. You're reviewing the data because the math didn't add up. You are an analyst trying to reconcile a discrepancy. So the next time this loop starts, don't judge yourself. Instead, validate the data. Tell yourself, I am not inventing this. I noticed a shift in tone. That is just a piece of data. It doesn't mean catastrophe. It just means I'm observant. Treat it like a scientist, not a victim. Trait 2, sensory processing sensitivity, the emotional echo. Have you ever felt physically exhausted after a short coffee with a friend? We often judge ourselves as weak or too sensitive for needing days to recover from social interaction. But this is the hallmark of sensory processing sensitivity, a trait found in highly sensitive people, HSP. When you interact with someone, you aren't just exchanging information. You're absorbing their emotional state. You feel the weight of their stress, the jagged edges of their sarcasm, or the warmth of their validation. Your system is porous. The reason you replay the conversation later is that you are still metabolizing that energy. It is a form of digestion. Just as your body needs time to process a heavy meal, your psyche needs time to process the emotional density of the interaction. You are not dwelling on it, you are filtering it. The practical move here is to create a decompression protocol. Do not jump from a social interaction straight into high-stimulation media. Give yourself 20 minutes of silence or white noise. Let your system cool down. Acknowledge that your depth of feeling is a trade-off for your depth of empathy. Trait 3, predictive coding and pattern recognition. You might think you are a pessimist because you lay awake imagining all the ways a future conversation could go wrong, or how a past conversation might ruin your reputation. But this isn't pessimism. This is predictive coding. Your brain is a sophisticated prediction engine. It uses past data to simulate future scenarios to ensure your survival. When you replay a conversation, your brain is cross-referencing it with thousands of past interactions. It's looking for patterns. It's asking, when X happened in the past, Y followed. Does this conversation fit that pattern? You're essentially running a simulation to protect yourself from future pain. It's a strategic mechanism. The problem arises when the simulation loops without a conclusion. To break the loop, engage your logical brain. Use the then what technique. If your brain says, they probably hate you now, ask it, okay, and if they do, then what? I will survive. I will adapt. Turn the vague fear into a concrete plan. Trait 4, high-level metacognition, the internal editor. This is perhaps the most painful one. You cringe at yourself. You think, why did I say that? I sounded so stupid. The error here is thinking you are socially awkward. The reality is that you possess high-level metacognition. This is the ability to think about your own thinking. Most people move through the world on autopilot, entirely unaware of how they come across. You, however, have a split consciousness. One part of you is living, and the other part is watching you live. You replay scenes because you have a high standard for authenticity and clarity. You want to be understood precisely. You want your external expression to match your internal reality. The pain comes from the gap between your intention and your execution. But realize this, the fact that you worry about being a good person usually means you already are one. Shift from the judge to the observer. Instead of condemning your performance, simply note it. I spoke too fast because I was nervous. That is interesting. Be a kind editor, not a cruel critic. Trait 5, trauma-informed hypervigilance. We must address the darker root. For some of you, this habit wasn't a choice, it was a survival requirement. If you grew up in an environment where the adults were unpredictable, where safety depended on reading the mood of a room instantly, you develop trauma-informed hypervigilance. You replay conversations to check for threats. Your brain is scanning the tape for signs of danger you might have missed. Did I anger them? Did I reveal too much? Is retaliation coming? This is your nervous system trying to keep you safe using an old map for a new territory. You're not being crazy, you're being protective. But the war is over. You need to remind your nervous system of that. When the analysis feels like panic, place a hand on your chest. Acknowledge the mechanism. Say internally, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe. But we are safe now. We can stand down." Trait 6, exceptional verbal memory. Sometimes it's not about emotion at all. It's about precision. You remember the exact syntax. You remember that they used the word fine instead of good. This is simply exceptional verbal memory. It is a cognitive asset. You have a high-fidelity recorder in your mind. While others retain the gist of a memory, you retain the transcript. This ability makes you an incredible writer, a thoughtful listener, and a deep learner. But without an outlet, this archive becomes heavy. It clutters the mind. Visualize the conversation as a physical file. You have reviewed it. You have learned from it. Now visualize yourself placing it into a filing cabinet and locking the drawer. It is archived. You don't need to carry the file in your hands anymore. Trait 7, the desire for relational clarity. Finally, the deepest reason. You replay conversations because you care about the truth. In psychology, this is related to the need for cognitive closure. You hate ambiguity. You hate misunderstandings. You want to know where you stand with people because you value the connection. The mistake is thinking that if you just think about it hard enough, you can solve the puzzle of another person. But human beings are inherently messy and contradictory. Sometimes even they don't know what they meant. The action here is to surrender to the unknown. You cannot think your way into someone else's head. If you have acted with integrity, you have done your part. Accept that clarity is not always possible, and that is okay. You can rest in the uncertainty. So the next time you find yourself awake at 3 a.m. dissecting a casual remark from 3 years ago, be gentle with yourself. You're not broken. You're a person with high social perception, deep empathy, and a brain that refuses to accept the superficial. You're analyzing because you care. You're processing because you feel. The goal isn't to stop thinking. That is impossible for a mind like yours. The goal is to stop judging yourself for the noise. Your depth is a gift, even if it feels like a burden sometimes. Now that you understand the mechanics of your own mind, the next step is learning how to reclaim your energy from the world. I have created a guide on the art of disappearing, how to recover your energy in a noisy world, which you can find on the screen right now. It is the perfect companion to what we discussed today. And before you go, which of these 7 traits resonated with you the most? Is it the inner editor or the emotional echo? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the Liminar Frame. Until next time, somewhere in the void between thoughts.